going to discuss about motion in a straight line with uniform acceleration. So I have discussed about the term acceleration in the previous class. So now if the particle moves in a straight line path with constant acceleration, then all the vectors, that means v bar, a bar, s bar, I mean initial velocity, final velocity, displacement and acceleration, all these vectors are directed along the same straight line. This line of motion, for convenience, you can take it as x-axis, or you may also take it as y-axis. So for example, I have written the equation in vector form: v bar equal to u bar plus a bar into t. So as I have written this equation in my previous class, that is, the particle moves with constant acceleration a bar, starting with initial velocity u bar, then final velocity v bar after a time interval t, can be written as v bar equal to u bar plus a bar into t. Suppose all these vectors, I mean v bar, u bar and a bar, are directed along positive direction of x-axis. Then mathematically u bar can be written as u I cap. Of course, I cap is unit vector along x-axis. As I discussed in the past, any vector can be expressed as the product of its magnitude and unit vector in the same direction. And a bar, you can write it as a I cap. V bar can be written as v I cap. That means v I cap you can write u plus a t into I cap. So I cap is common on both sides. So you can write it as v equal to u plus at. That means for the problems in one-dimensional motion with uniform acceleration, it's not compulsory to follow this bar notation. Of course, there is nothing wrong even if you follow the vector notation even for one-dimensional motion problems. But for simplicity, for convenience in calculations, we represent all the vector quantities, velocity, acceleration, displacement, in the scalar notation for problems in one-dimensional motion with acceleration. We simply give positive sign for vector quantities in one direction and give negative sign for vector quantities in the opposite direction. Of course, we will not put a negative sign for a quantity which is not given in the problem. After calculation, we will get the proper sign. So, if you give positive sign for velocities and displacements in one direction, then you have to give negative sign for vector quantities in the opposite direction. And you can write the same equation in the scalar form as v equal to u plus at. And I observed with some students, when a problem in kinematics with uniform acceleration is given, they will be first trying the problem with equation v equal to u plus at. When they don't get the answer, then they cross the working, then they start afresh with s equal to ut plus half at square. Still, if they don't get the answer, then they start with v square minus u square equal to as. Finally, they may be able to arrive at the answer, but that is a tedious procedure. In most of the problems, it is possible to know the exact equation you have to start with to solve the problem. If you look at the letters which appear in these equations, U, V, A, F, T, U, or sometimes we may write V, I, or V naught in different books for initial velocity. V is the final velocity of time t. A is the acceleration. S is the displacement after time t, or displacement covered during the time interval t. Out of these 5 quantities, you can make a list of the quantities which are given in the problem. Also write the letter or quantity which you are asked to find out. I'm talking about the starting level problems, where you can solve the problem by using one of the equations. So you write down the quantity which are given in the problem and also write the quantity which you are asked to find. You can observe that in some of the problems, you will not be given the value of displacement, and you may not be asked to calculate the displacement. So if you are not given the value of the displacement, yes, and if you are also not asked to find the value of displacement, yes, then you can choose the equation which does not contain the letter S. That is V equal to U plus AT. Similarly, in some of the problems, you may not be given the final velocity after time t, and you may not be asked to calculate the final velocity V. Then you must choose the equation without the letter V. That is S equal to ut plus half at square. In some of the problems, you may not be given the time interval t. You may not be asked to calculate the time interval t. So, if you are not given the value of time t, and if you are not asked to calculate the time interval t, then you can choose the equation which does not contain the letter t. That is v square minus square equal to as. So in all the equations I have written so far, this is the first equation, this is the second equation, this is the third equation. You can observe that 2 letters are common in every equation. They are U and A. Can you try to think about the equation which does not contain the letter U? Some of the students may be familiar with this equation, but observe that good number of students are not familiar with this because it's not mentioned in the regular textbooks. S equal to Vt minus half At square. So here V is not the initial velocity, V is the final velocity after time interval t. This equation is obtained by eliminating initial velocity u between these 2 equations. I'd like to briefly show you how you can eliminate. From this equation V equal to U plus At, you can write V minus At equal to initial velocity u. So if you substitute this value of u in this equation, S equal to ut plus half At square. In this equation, you can substitute u equal to V minus At. You can simplify this. If you simplify this, you get the same equation which I have written directly here. Vt minus At square plus half At square. So if you simplify this, you get this equation. S equal to Vt minus half At square. That means if you are not given the initial loss to u, and if you are not asked to find the initial loss to u, you can solve some of the problems more faster by using this equation S equal to Vt minus half At square. So next I am going to show you the systematic arrangement of all the conclusions and results for a particle moving in a straight line path with uniform acceleration. This part you need not try to copy in your notebook. Look at the screen here. So now look at the notes part, or I mean the conclusions or results which you are expected to remember, or which are directly used in numerical examples. And those who want to write the notes, they can take a pause and write the notes. I mean, wherever they require a pause, they can take a pause and write the notes. But if you have my classes in your system at home, it may not be necessary for you to write the notes. You can just go through the results whenever you want to go through it. So the equations of motion for a particle moving in a straight line path with constant acceleration are: the first one is A equal to V minus U by T. v minus u divided by t, or v equal to u plus at. In some of the books, they use a different notation. Instead of u, they write vi for initial velocity. Instead of v, they may write vf for final velocity. This equation does not contain letter s. So this equation can be used for those objective problems where you are not given the displacement s and not asked to calculate the displacement s. Next, second equation is s equal to ut plus half at square, or you can write s equal to vi into t plus half at square, where here this equation is used for those problems where you are not given the velocity v after time t. I mean, you are not given the final velocity v, and if you are not asked to calculate the final velocity v. Then the third equation is v square minus square equal to as. This equation does not contain time t, within bracket written without t. That means if you are not given the time interval t, and if you are not asked to calculate the time interval t, then you can use the third equation of motion v square minus square equal to as, which in some of the books may be written in the form v of square minus vi square equal to as. Of course, all these equations are applicable only for a particle which moves in a straight line path with a constant acceleration. The acceleration is constant. It means velocity changes uniformly with the time, at a constant rate with the time. And this is the equation which does not contain a. That means if you are not given the acceleration a, and if you are not asked to calculate the acceleration a, you can choose the equation which does not contain the letter a, s equal to u plus v by 2 into t, or s equal to vi plus vf by 2 into t. That means displacement of the particle is equal to average of initial and final velocities multiplied by the time interval. The next equation was s equal to vt minus half at square, or you can write s equal to vf into t minus half at square. This is the equation which does not contain the letter u, I mean initial velocity u. If you are not given the initial velocity u, and if you are not asked to calculate the initial velocity u, then you can choose this equation to solve the problem. And here Sn represents the displacement covered during the nth second. So mathematically we write Sn equal to u into 1 second plus a by 2 into 2n minus 1 into 1 second square, to see that the equation is dimensionally correct. But numerically we can write Sn equal to u plus a by 2 into 2n minus 1. So here where u equal to vi equal to initial velocity of the particle, v equal to vf is the final velocity of the particle of time t, s is equal to displacement of the particle in the time interval t, Sn is the s subscript small n, is the displacement covered during the nth second. So those who want to write the note, they can take a pause and write the notes. Suppose in some of the problems the particle may start from rest and then move with constant acceleration. The particle starts from rest and moves with constant acceleration, then velocity will be in the direction of the acceleration, and displacement will also be in the direction of the acceleration. In that case, you can take initial velocity u equal to 0. In the equation v equal to u plus at, if you substitute u equal to 0, you get v equal to at, or v proportional to t. Suppose in some simple theory equation, you may be given like this. Particle moves in a straight line such that velocity at time t is proportional to the time elapsed. Then 4 options may be given. Its velocity is uniform, one option. Another option, acceleration is uniform. Another option, velocity non-uniform, acceleration non-uniform, like that. So if you are given that v proportional to t, or v equal to some constant into t, you should conclude that the particle has started from rest and moves with uniform acceleration. So in the second equation, motion s equal to ut plus half at square. If you substitute u equal to 0, you will get s equal to half at square or s proportional t square. In the equation v square minus square equal to as. You put u equal to 0. You get v square equal to as. In the present discussion, acceleration a is constant, so we can write v square proportional to s. So here displacement covered, I have shown you previously in the nth second. Sn equal to u plus a by 2 into n minus 1. If you put u equal to 0 there, you will get Sn equal to a by 2 into n minus 1. Here a by 2 is constant. So Sn is proportional to 2n minus 1. So if n is a natural number, then 2n minus 1 will be an odd natural number. To find displacement covered in the first second, you can put n equal to 1 in this equation. To find the displacement covered during the second second, you can put n equal to 2 here. To find displacement covered in third second, you can substitute n equal to 3 here. So if the particle starts from rest and moves with constant acceleration, then the ratio of the distances covered during the first second, second, third second, nth second of its motion is 1:3:5:7:2n minus 1. Of course, this result is applicable when the particle starts from rest and moves with constant acceleration. So if the particle starts from rest and moves with constant acceleration, then as I told you, s is proportional t square. We write s equal to half a t square or s is proportional t square. So if we draw a graph with the displacement along y-axis and time interval along x-axis, s proportional to t square means y proportional to x square, which represents the equation of a parabola. So you get a parabola passing through origin. If you take s equal to 0 and t equal to 0. But sometimes you may be given the equation for a displacement s in the form s equal to s naught plus half a t square. That means the particle starts from rest and moves with a constant acceleration, but s is measured from a fixed point, and the particle is the distance s equal to s naught from the fixed point at the initial moment t equal to 0. So if s equal to s naught at t equal to 0, but the particle moves with constant acceleration starting from rest, then the graph between the displacement and time will be a parabola, but this parabola will not be passing through origin. It will cut the y-axis at some point, so that intercept on y-axis will be equal to s naught. If you draw a graph with velocity along y-axis and time along x-axis, you get a straight line. So in the equation v equal to u plus at, if you put u equal to 0, you will get v equal to at or v proportional t. Means y proportional to x. If y proportional to x represents the equation of a straight line passing through origin. In general, equation of a straight line passing through the origin with slope m is given by y equal to mx. So you compare v equal to at with y equal to mx. So slope m equal to acceleration a. That means in general, slope of the velocity time graph gives you the acceleration. The straight line makes an angle theta with the positive direction of x-axis. Then the slope of the line can be written as m equal to tan theta. So next I am going to show you one conclusion which is applicable for a particle moving in a straight line path with constant acceleration, even if its initial velocity is not 0. So if a particle moving in a straight line path with constant acceleration of a meter per second square covers a displacement of capital D meter in a particular second, then the displacement covered during the next second is d plus a meter, and displacement covered during the previous second is d minus a meter. Good number of problems, you find some problems in different books where you may be given the displacement covered in a particular second, and you may be asked to find displacement covered in the next second. Or sometimes you may be given the displacement covered in a particular second, and you may be asked to find the displacement covered in the previous second. So the acceleration is a meter per second square, and displacement covered in the particular second is d meter. Then the displacement covered in the next second will be d plus a meter. Displacement covered in the previous second is d minus a meter. Of course, these conclusions can be directly used for objective questions, multiple choice model. But I would like to show you the calculation behind this conclusion. Those who want to copy the notes, they can take a pause and copy the notes. I would like to show the calculation for this. Displacement covered in nth second is given by u plus a by 2 into n minus 1. Of course, this equation is correct numerically. To find the displacement cover next second, that is n plus 1 second, you must replace n by n plus 1. So displacement covered in n plus 1 second will be u plus a by 2 into n plus 1 minus 1. That means n should be replaced by n plus 1. We simplify this. You get displacement covered in n plus 1th second as u plus a by 2 into 2n plus 1. Now if you find the difference between displacement covered in n plus 1th second and displacement covered in nth second, you can substitute Sn plus 1, mean displacement covered in n plus 1th second as u plus a by 2 into 2n plus 1. You can substitute Sn equal to this value, u plus a by 2 into n minus 1. So u gets cancelled. If you simplify this yourself, you get Sn plus 1 minus Sn will be equal to a numerically. That means when the particle moves in a straight line path with uniform acceleration, then displacement covered in n plus 1th second minus displacement covered during the nth second is numerically equal to acceleration. And you can observe that the difference Sn plus 1 minus Sn is equal to a, which is a constant, which is independent of n. That means the conclusion holds good for any value of n. Suppose if you take n equal to 3, then n plus 1 will be 4. That means displacement covered in the 4th second minus displacement covered in 3rd second will be numerically equal to a. So difference between displacements covered during successive seconds will be numerically equal to acceleration. And the particle moves with a constant acceleration straight line path. Next, I am going to show you one more conclusion, which I have put number 4 here. First, I am going to show you the conclusions. Later, I will be showing you the calculation or reasoning behind the conclusions. And these conclusions can be used directly in competitive examinations, in objective type questions, in case you are given a problem based on these results. If a particle moving in a straight line path with constant acceleration has velocities v1 and v2 at 2 points A and B respectively, then velocity at the middle of time interval in passing from A to B is v1 plus v2 by 2, and velocity at the midpoint of AB is square root of v1 square plus v2 square by 2. So if you are writing the notes, if you want to write the notes, you can take a pause and copy these results in your notebook. Next, I would like to show you the calculation or explanation for these results. You should also know the reasoning or calculation behind each result, because sometimes you may not be able to remember the result, but still you should be able to solve the problem from basic equations of motion. But sometimes it can, if you are able to remember the result, and if a problem is given based on the result, you may be able to solve faster. So calculation for the first result. Here A and B are 2 points at which the line of motion of the particle has velocity v1 at the point A and velocity v2 at the point B. Let us suppose capital T is the time of motion from A to B. Let P be the position of the particle at the middle of the time interval in passing from A to B. That means if time taken to move from A to B is capital T, then the time taken to move from A to P is capital T by 2. Let V subscript P denote the velocity at the point P, that is at the middle of the time interval passing from A to B. So you can use the formula A equal V minus U by T, first for motion from A to B. Then initial velocity A equal to V1, final velocity B equal to V2, and time of motion from A to B is capital T. So if you use the equation A equal to V minus U by T for motion from A to B, you can write acceleration A equal to V2 minus V1 by capital T. Next, we are going to use the equation V equal to U plus AT for motion from A to P. For motion from A to P, initial velocity A is equal to V1, time of motion is equal to capital T by 2, but acceleration is constant throughout the motion. That means the value of A for motion from A to B same as the value of A for motion from A to B. So you can substitute here A equal to V2 minus V1 by capital T in this equation, and small t equal to capital T by 2 to find velocity Vp at the point P, that is at the middle of the time interval passing from A to P. So you have substituted here A U equal to V1 and A equal to V2 minus V1 by capital T and small t equal to capital T by 2. You can simplify this yourself. You get the result as V1 plus V2 by 2. Those who want to copy the calculation part, they can take a pause and copy the calculation part. Next, I would like to show the calculation for the other result, for second result. Again, here A is the point at which the particle has velocity V1. B is the point at which the particle has velocity V2. Of course, the particle is moving with constant acceleration, the straight line path. Let x be the distance between the points A and B. Let m be the midpoint of AB. That means distance from A to m is x by 2. Let V subscript small m or V subscript capital M denote the velocity at the midpoint of m, which we are going to calculate. That means we are going to find Vm in terms of V1 and V2. First, we consider the motion from A to B, and we are going to use the equation V square minus V square equal to 2AS for motion from A to B. So initial velocity U at A equal to V1, final velocity V at B equal to V2, and S equal to X. So if you use the equation V square minus V square equal to 2AS for motion from A to B, you can write V2 square minus V1 square equal to 2AX. Or you can write A equal to V2 square minus V1 square by 2X. Next, we will be using the same equation, that is V square minus V square equal to 2AS, or Vf square minus Vi square equal to 2AS. Next, for motion from A to M. So if you want to copy the calculation, you can take a pause and copy the calculation part. So for motion from A to M, use the equation V square minus square equal to AS. Can take U equal to V1, and velocity at the point M is Vm. So V equal to Vm and S equal to X by 2. And A equal to, you can substitute V2 square minus V1 square by 2X. So here on the right hand side, I have substituted A equal to V2 square minus V1 square by 2X and S equal to X by 2. Here X get cancelled. You get Vm square equal to, take this minus V1 square to the right side. V1 square plus V2 square minus V1 square by 2. Can simplify it further. This will be equal to v1 square plus v2 square minus v1 square by 2. Or you get vm square equal to v1 square plus v2 square by 2. Or vm is equal to root of v1 square plus v2 square by 2. Here v subscript m represents the velocity at the midpoint of AB. So if you want to copy the solution or calculation part for the conclusion, you can take a pause and copy the calculation part. If you can, you try to check up this conclusion yourself on paper, or if you want to better check up now itself, take a paper or notebook. Use square Vm, that is Vm square, you can write V1 square plus V2 square by 2. And Vp we have calculated previously equal V1 plus V2 by 2. You find the difference of Vm square and Vp square. Just 1 minute calculation, you can do that on paper. You can find that the difference of Vm square and Vp square will be positive for all values of V1 and V2. That means Vm is greater than Vp. I mean, when the particle moves in a straight line path with constant acceleration, passes to 2 points A and B successfully, which are separated by certain distance, then velocity at the midpoint of AB will be always greater than the velocity at the middle of the time interval in passing from A to B. I mean, magnitude of velocity at the midpoint of AB will be greater than magnitude of the velocity at the middle of the time interval in passing from A to B. If you want to copy the calculation, take a pause and copy the calculation part. Then I am going to show you one more conclusion, different conclusion. There are some problems where particle moves with retardation. Retardation of the particle. I would like to just briefly discuss about retarded motion. So you can just look at the screen. You need not copy this part, just listen here. Suppose if the velocity of the particle decreases uniformly with the time, then you can say its retardation is constant. I consider a particle which moves in a straight line path with constant retardation. So then retardation can be written as rate of decrease in the velocity of the body. The particle moves in a straight line path with constant retardation. The retardation you can write decrease in velocity by time interval. So decrease in the velocity means initial velocity minus final velocity divided by time interval. Or you can write minus of v minus u by t. So retardation usually are denoted by letter beta is equal to negative of acceleration, because v minus u by t gives you the acceleration a. So you can write a equal to minus beta. So when the particle moves with uniform retardation, straight line path, then acceleration will be negative of retardation. For example, if the particle moves in a straight line path with uniform retardation of 2 meters per second square, it means its velocity decreases by 2 meters per second after each second. Then its acceleration can be written as equal to minus beta. So next I will come back to the discussion we have been doing. Again, we'll go back to the notes part or summary of the results. So here I am going to show you one conclusion which we can straight away use in some of the problems. Calculation part behind the conclusion later, but I would like to show you the conclusion first. Later I will show you the calculation behind the conclusion. The particle starts with some initial velocity u and moves in a straight line path with a constant retardation for a time interval more than 1 second until its velocity becomes 0. Then the distance covered during the last second of its retarded motion will be numerically equal to half of the retardation. If you want to copy the conclusion, you can take a pause and copy the conclusion. For example, if the retardation is 2 meters per second square, The particle starts with some initial velocity, say about 40 meters per second or some other value, and moves in a straight line with a constant retardation of 2 meters per second square until its velocity becomes 0. Then the distance covered the last 1 second of the retarded motion will be half of 2 meters or 1 meter. I will show you the calculation for this conclusion. Here, the particle starts from the point A with initial velocity u and moves in a straight line path with uniform retardation for a time interval more than 1 second. Let B be the point at which final velocity becomes 0. Let us suppose the total time of retarded motion is capital T seconds. That is, time of motion from A to B is capital T seconds. Then Tth second will be the last second of the retarded motion. Let us suppose the retardation is denoted by beta. So if you use the equation V equal to U plus AT for entire motion from A to B, you can say that V at the point B is 0 at small t equal to capital T seconds. So if you substitute small t equal to capital T on the right side, you can put V equal to 0 on the left side. That means if you use this, using this equation V equal to U plus AT for motion from A to B, we get V equal to 0 here on the left side. That is equal to U plus. If retardation is beta, you can write acceleration equal to minus beta. Small t equal to capital T. That is U numerically U minus beta into capital T seconds equal to 0. To find the distance covered in the last second, so Tth second is the last second, you have to put n equal to capital T. In the equation S equal to Sn equal to U plus A by 2 into 2n minus 1. For example, the total time of retarded motion is 10 seconds. Then 10th second is the last second of the retarded motion. So in the same way, if the total time of retarded motion is capital T seconds, then Tth second is the last second of the retarded motion. Then to find the distance covered in the Tth second, that means the last second, you have to put n equal to capital T. In the equation Sn equal to U plus A by 2 into 2n minus 1. So here I have substituted A equal to minus beta and n equal to capital T. In the equation Sn equal to U plus A by 2 into 2n minus 1. Of course, this equation is correct numerically. So this you can simplify this further. U minus beta into capital T plus beta by 2. So as we got U minus beta into capital T, previously we got it as 0 here. So that we substitute here. So we'll get Sn equal to beta by 2. That means displacement covered in the Tth second, last second, will be numerically equal to half of the retardation. If you want to copy the calculation, you can copy the calculation. You can take a pause and copy the calculation. This is the velocity time graph for the particle which moves with uniform retardation in a straight line path, starting with some initial velocity u. The slope of the velocity time graph gives you acceleration. In this case, slope is negative because acceleration is negative. So the length of intercept on y-axis gives you the initial velocity. Length of this intercept on x-axis gives you the total time of retarded motion. And this right hand side I have shown the displacement time graph for the retarded motion. The slope of the tangent to the displacement time curve at a point on the curve is ds by dt. That gives you the instantaneous velocity. In the present discussion, velocity is 0 at the end of retarded motion. So if you draw a tangent to this curve at this topmost point, it will be parallel to x-axis. That means slope of the tangent to the curve is 0 at the highest point. That means velocity is 0 at the end of retarded motion. So distance called last second is numerically equal to half of the retardation for the particle which moves in a straight line path with uniform retardation until velocity becomes 0. which we directly use in some of the problems. Next, I am going to show you next one more conclusion. First, another different conclusion, which is applicable for a particle moving in a straight line path with constant acceleration. First, I will be showing you the conclusion. Later, you can see the working part. If a particle moving in a straight line path with uniform acceleration covers displacements s1 and s2 in successive intervals of time t1 and t2 respectively, then its acceleration is given by a equal to 2 into s2 t1 minus s1 t2 divided by t1 t2 divided by t1 plus t2. So if you want to copy this conclusion, you can take a pause and copy the conclusion. Next, I am going to show you the calculation for this conclusion. So first we are considering the motion for first t1 second. Let us suppose in the first t1 second it moves from A to B. The next t2 seconds it moves from B to C. So A is the initial position of the particle at which it has initial velocity u. So we use the equation s equal to dt plus half at square. First for motion from A to B. For motion from A to B, s equal to s1, t equal to t1. So we get s1 equal to ut1 plus half at1 square. So divide this equation with t1, you will get s1 by t1 equal to u plus half at1. This I call equation 1. Next, I use the same equation s equal to ut plus half at square for motion from A to C. For motion from A to B, distance is s1. From B to C, it covers distance s2. So total displacement from A to C is s1 plus s2. And time of motion is t1 plus t2. If you want to copy the calculation, you have to take a pause and copy the calculation. Next, for motion from A to C, you can write s equal to s1 plus s2 and t equal to t1 plus t2. So if you use the equation s equal to ut plus half at square for motion from A to C, you can write s1 plus s2 equal to u into t1 plus t2 plus half a t1 plus t2 whole square. So dividing this equation with t1 plus t2, you get s1 plus s2 by t1 plus t2 equal to u plus half a into t1 plus t2. This we call equation 2. We subtract equation 1 from equation 2 here. s1 plus s2 by t1 plus t2 minus s1 by t1 equal to half a t1 plus t2 minus half a t1. This you can simplify it as shown on the screen. If you want to copy the calculation, you can take a pause and copy the calculation part. So you get a equal to 2 into s2 t1 minus s1 t2 by t1 t2 into t1 plus t2. In some of the problems, t1 and t2 may be equal to t, equal. That means s1 is the distance covered in the first t seconds, and s2 is the distance covered next t seconds. Then you substitute t1 equal to t and t2 equal to, you get a equal to s2 minus s1 by t square. So if you want to copy the calculation, you can take a pause and copy the calculation part. I will continue my discussion in next class. The next class I will be discussing about the freely falling bodies, equations of motion for a freely falling bodies, and some problems also.